Welcome to the video where nobody understands anything about trans people. Yay! Hey Spuds, it's Jamie. Welcome back to another video, first video on the channel. I don't know, but welcome either way. I'm very glad to have you here. And today it's time to look at some more bad trans anatomy. Terrible, awful trans anatomy. People just not understanding how trans people work. We looked at bad women's anatomy. This is the bad trans anatomy. This is the trans version of that type of video. It's just like odd transphobia. People not understanding how the transition process works or just how trans people work in general. That is literally what this video is. There is nothing else I can say to introduce the video. So I want to do a quick shout out for my book. Yay! I'm really sorry if you're getting fed up with this, but I'm super proud of it. It's a book that I really hope is going to help the trans community. It's part memoir about my own experience of transitioning and part self-help guide. It's got a bunch of other trans people's stories in there, a bunch of tips for allies, and yeah, I just really hope that it can be useful for some people. So if you want to go check it out, there is a link down in the description box below, and if you're not in the UK, you get free shipping from Blackwell's, which is the second link when you click on the pre-order link. It will make sense if you click on the link. But yeah, now on with the bad trans anatomy. Thank you so much for listening. Gender dysphoria is a vaccine-induced disease. Which vaccine? Oh, just any of them. Endocrine disruptors can also play a role, leading to LGBTQ behaviour. There is no pride in disease. Since reproduction is affected, lack of reproduction means Are you talking like LGBTQ plus in general? There's a lack of reproductive ability because LGBTQ plus people have children all the time. Biological children, adopted children, like all different, like children where donors have been used, like stop it. But also, I cannot move past this line of gender dysphoria is a vaccine-induced disease. I mean, again, which vaccine? A majority of the population in certain countries and parts of the world have been vaccinated as children, so what are we talking about here? Is this a COVID thing? It was at the end of 2022 that this was tweeted, so maybe. I'm very curious. What, some people just like, yeah, I've never been vaccinated and I have gender dysphoria? I mean, that's not me, but like, I'm sure there's some people out there. So, because gender dysphoria has nothing to do with whether you're vaccinated or not. Wow, that's interesting. Trans women can still have mammary tissue. There are a few with large natural chests who, if this weren't the case, trans women wouldn't be able to breastfeed. Yeah, this has happened. Breastfeed, that junk is just nasty discharge nowhere close to milk. Why would it be different? What are you talking about? Not true, cis men and trans women can breastfeed the same as anyone. We all have the same nipples and breasts. Drug-induced milk is not the same as natural breast milk. If you believe that it has the same nutrients and enzymes, then you are truly delusional. It's nothing more than men who fantasize about what their bodies can't do. Logically, though, why would it be any different? It's caused by hormones in the body, and yes, those hormones may, for some people, come from a synthetic place, but they're still the same hormones. They're still hormones. How many times can I say hormones? And that is what leads to the production of milk and breasts to grow. It's hormones. It's all coming from the same place, just one is hormones that are already naturally present in the body and occurring, and one is hormones where people have to take them, but they are still the same hormone. Drug-induced. I wouldn't need to investigate if someone is a transsexual double X because I can smell their hormones. Even if you could accurately smell hormones, you do realise that a lot of trans people do something called hormone replacement therapy, where they take hormones. So for me, my hormone levels are within the typical range for a man. So if you can smell my hormones, how would you be able to tell I'm trans? Not that you can smell hormones anyway, but just saying that is like your lie is also deeply flawed. It does not make sense. Not that I would expect it to, but you know. We were minding our own business when suddenly the trans movement came along and demanded that we totally abandon biology, common sense, and truth itself for its sake. I feel like that could have been worded so much better. Our war against this scourge is a defensive struggle. They started it, they wanted this fight, now they have it. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry that wanting to be comfortable in my body and just get on with my life and not have rights taken away felt like it impacted your life and was a fight. That sounds like a you problem. That sounds like you misinterpreted what was going on here and you came into this situation with a lot of bias and disliking a group of people for no reason. reason, any like hostility and negativity was not started by trans people. This is the biggest pile of shite ever. Okay, so there's a female and male pelvis. Okay, you can shorten your penis as many times as you want. Shorten your penis. Shorten your penis. Eat tons of hormones to grow your breasts or your beard. Eat. Delicious. I have them every morning for breakfast. Testosterone, yeah, like Cheerios. When your future archaeologists find the skeleton of a transgender, this is the conclusion they will draw. Oh, from the pelvis. Okay, I want to be cremated anyway, so it's all good. But at the same time, even if I wanted to be buried, don't give a shit if some archaeologist in 500 years digs me up and makes some predetermined thing based on the shape of my pelvis. I don't care, because I won't know. And if there's a headstone still there, it'll have my name on and loving husband, so I'm sure we'll move to a place where trans rights and trans people are accepted, that maybe that would be the conclusion. Why do I care? I don't. So, is the Vanity Fair Oscar party actually just a celebrity striptease? It's sad and pathetic to see influential women in a race to the bottom. Does anyone actually think this kind of female empowerment makes people happy, except trashy men? I mean, it's about choice. This is not the trans part of the tweet, but just on that point, it's about bodily autonomy and choice. If this is what these women want to wear, then why are you calling that out? All you're doing is trying to prescribe on them what they should be wearing and telling them what to do, which that's not very empowering, is it? But they then replied to their own tweet going, originally included a photo of a trans model by mistake, not a woman. Congrats to her. I'm not good at misgender, makeup team and photographer. We can always tell. Where was the person who can sniff hormones? I bet you they'd claim they can sniff them through a photograph. You actually had to like do research, get told by somebody else, like you didn't know, just straight away. Oh my goodness, how many times do you think you've interacted with a trans person and respected them and not even known they were trans? Oh, I bet it haunts you. The revolution starts now. It's time to file for divorce. LGB. Cut from the TQIA+. Oh, so that's not just like divorcing trans people. They do realise that just because there's letters after T doesn't mean they're all T related. Like A, asexual. Q is queer. Like that's not just trans people. L equals lesbian. Thank you. G equals gay. Thank you. B equals bisexual. Well done. S equals straight. You're kidding me. They want to cut any letter beyond T. That would also include pansexual people. And then they want to include straight. Sexualities are something you're born with. Gender ideologies are something you're indoctrinated with. Oh. How do you feel about a trans person who is also LGB in some way? Can I still be included because I'm bisexual? Or does my transness override that and I'm just kicked out? You're kicking out sexualities more than trans people, because when you're including LGBS, so lesbian, gay, bisexual, straight, apart from asexual and pansexual and other sexualities that aren't LGBS, so weird to say it together, you're still including trans people in that. A lot of trans people. I mean, you're still excluding a lot as well, but you're including many. It's the fact they call it an ideology. That is not how being trans works. It is also something you're born with, just as you were born with your sexuality. It's not an indoctrination. It's not an ideology. Gender is gender. Being trans is a thing that people are born with and is a valid thing. Hashtag LGBS community. Yeah, BS. Bunch of bullshit. Hashtag no more TQIA. Hashtag LGB divorce. Hashtag LGB without the T. And all the other letters because I hate the T so much. That's what it feels like. You are a trans woman. You wrote that trans women are women, so that must also mean women are trans women, so you are a trans woman. You thought about this, right? You wrote that trans women are women, so that must also mean women are trans women, so you are a trans woman. This is the classic thing of being like, all dogs are animals, but not all animals are dogs. It's like all trans women are women, but not all women are trans. It's very, very simple, and if you're confused by that, you've not thought about it. Just think about it. I feel like somebody's spelt things differently to avoid getting cut by the algorithm. Anyway, this was a comment left on one of my videos where I was like, trans women are women. Dick Like dick equals male. Pusey rhymes with Lucy equals female. Dick but want pusey plus pusey but want dick equals insanity. It's a disorder. It's a defect. Treatment is the way to go. Treatment is the way to go. Treatment really is. And I went down the route of the treatment, the gender affirming treatment. That is the evidenced treatment that would actually work for me. Because conversion therapy does not work, whereas transitioning socially, medically does. So yeah, thank you. I do disagree with you about the insanity thing and being called a defect. Like, no thank you. I agree with your very last point. Treatment is the way to go. Yes, thank you. I did, and I'm very happy. I was refused the opportunity to donate blood this evening as I declined to answer the question, are you pregnant? The nurse in charge asked me again if I would answer. I said no, I am a man, therefore I cannot be pregnant. I wish this was a joke. How difficult would it have been to just say no? How much would it have affected your day? I am a man, but I could be pregnant. Like, I would not want to be. I would not try to be, but I could be. It's a question that literally doesn't affect your life. It's a question that is valid for some people who will be going in, and it's creating a more inclusive environment for trans people within healthcare and medicine generally, which is important because there are many things that fall under the radar because people just are not aware that trans people exist. And this is just one of those ways that means things like this can get picked up on. I mean, you did. I said, no, I'm a man, therefore I cannot get pregnant. I don't believe that you were actually refused because you are saying that you yourself gave an answer. You said no. You said you couldn't be. So therefore you answered, so why would they not? Unless they just really didn't appreciate you being transphobic or there was more to the story. This definitely kind of smells like a made-up situation. Are there transgender chimpanzees? We share 98.8% of their DNA, so surely there must be. Why aren't Democrats doing penile inversion surgeries on adolescent chimps to improve their quality of life? Oh, chimpanzees don't have any money, so none of them are transgender. Oh, wow. The money conspiracy is the biggest pile of shit I ever read. I hate it so much. It's almost funny, but it's so frustrating it can't be funny. We also share nearly 2/3 of DNA with bananas and 99% with a lettuce. Are there transgender lettuces? It's like, oh my god, 98.8% of DNA, so there must be transgender chimpanzees. That's not how it works. I love this. I'm going to prove that trans people don't exist and that transitioning is all about big pharma and other people making lots and lots of money by saying that there aren't trans chimpanzees. Have you ever spoken to a chimpanzee? Do you know how they're feeling? You would never just take anybody in and perform surgery on them without them saying that is what they require and they need, without them expressing it and being diagnosed with something. We're not able to do that to chimpanzees or bananas or lettuces. Why would we perform penile inversion surgeries on a lettuce? They can't tell us. Oh, it's just so daft. We can tell from your shadow you're not a woman. Look at those shoulders. Clown emoji. I think they use the clown emoji to describe themselves. Again, just reminding you of the person who tweeted about women at an awards ceremony and included a trans woman without realising you can't always tell. And by picking up on these odd physical traits that you have yourself determined must mean that they fall within this category or that category, that isn't just harmful to trans people. It's just harmful in general and harmful to cis people. Labelling any woman who's remotely masculine in build or appearance or expression as a trans woman is damaging to trans women and to cis women. And this is coming from the people who are claiming that they're all about women's rights and protecting women's rights, and that's why they don't like trans people. I didn't want to include the photo, but just to describe it, the shape of the shadow is honestly like a blob. It's like an Among Us character. You can't even see any shoulders. I could not even distinguish where the shoulders were. And there's also a cat in the photo, and there's a shadow of the cat lead, so part of the shadow could be the cat. Like, it's honestly the most ridiculous thing. Periods are a natural part of life for AFAB individuals. It just means they are healthy. AFAB individuals just say women. Well, not everyone who's AFAB is a woman. While I identify as a woman, other AFAB individuals may not, so I said that in order to be inclusive. Appreciate that. Why would you be inclusive if you could be biologically right? Why be inclusive when you can be an arsehole? I am not arguing with a transphobe who probably hasn't opened a biology textbook since high school. Have a great day. It's just, why would you be inclusive if you could be biology? It is the basic biology thing. It is. Primary school biology. Someone with XX chromosomes is just a woman. I don't know what's going on here, but the same way there can't be a male queen bee, a female bull, or a male doe, there's no such thing as a male woman. We are not exempt. XX males that are SRY positive have two X chromosomes, with one of them containing genetic material, the SRY gene from the Y chromosome. This gene causes them to develop a male phenotype despite having chromosomes more typical of females. It's just like you cannot rely on chromosomes. They are not a reliable foundation for your transphobia. They are not a gotcha to trans people. They are not a valid reason or a thing to use to invalidate trans people. So yes, trans people can't have kids naturally. It's a form of infertility which is medically categorized as a disability. Of course we can. There is such a thing as freezing eggs / the other stuff for later use. Someone who is trans could also have had kids before HRT. But trans people can't have kids naturally. Yes they can. HRT doesn't automatically make people infertile. You can freeze things. People are so strange. Another reason why I cannot support transgenderism, because a transgender male cannot do this job and neither can a transgender female. How would you know? I personally don't know what that job is, but I am sure that there are also many cis men and women who cannot do that job. But there will be many trans people who can do that job. And by saying that both trans men and trans women can't do that job, what point are you trying to make? That trans people just generally cannot do anything physical? Cannot do a physical job? I thought the transphobes were all about banning trans women from women's sports because they would beat all the women and dominate the sports. But now you're saying that a trans woman couldn't do this physical job. I feel like this was a really roundabout way of just being like, I think trans people are all incompetent. If you are genderless, I'm assuming you no longer have a penis or vagina, just smooth, right? Yeah, like a Ken doll. Otherwise, you have a biological sex that you deny and a biological gender that you deny as well. I mean, they're just conflating sex and gender and saying that they're the same thing and that your sex and your gender are fully determined by what genitals you have. I don't know what they would say about people who are intersex and how they would determine that, because nothing in life is as black and white as they are trying to make it out to be. And certainly biology isn't that black and white, and gender is separate. So being genderless does not mean that you have to be void of genitals. Parents of ROGD kids, they've started like groups and things based on a concept that isn't real. Rapid onset gender dysphoria was a term that was created by this researcher that didn't even include trans people or trans kids in their research. They created this rapid onset gender dysphoria entirely based off of a survey that went out to parents who frequented transphobic websites. What kind of results did you expect? I mean, that is one of the most blindingly obvious examples of a bias sample that I've ever heard of. And yet it has actually gained traction because of transphobia. But rapid onset gender dysphoria does not exist. Obviously, if you have transphobic views, your kid may be slightly hesitant to express themselves fully to you. Gender dysphoria, potential causes and contributing factors, not an exhaustive list. BPD, autism, oh my god, self-hatred, peer pressure, difficulty fitting in, desire to please a parent. Is that transgender written really small? Social contagion, ADHD, misogyny. No. Potential causes of gender dysphoria, like being trans, having gender dysphoria, it is not caused by anything like a social contagion or peer pressure or autism. Like, why? No, this is horrible. There are many others that I'm not going to read or even show. Gender dysphoria causes atrazine, estrogen mimickers, GMO, soy, childhood trauma, vaccine injury, plastic packaging, vegan frankenfood, transhumanist indoctrination. Oh my god. This is a new thing. The transphobia is very like one-dimensional and just has no basis, but every so often they come up with a new thing, and this appears to be a new... I've not heard of this before. I've obviously heard of like the social contagion thing with rapid onset gender dysphoria, and there's been like claims for a long time that it's caused by other things like trauma and things like that, but I've not seen people go so hard in on like gender dysphoria causes and it just be this long list of really odd things. Vegan frankenfood is just what? Anyway, that's where we're gonna end it. We're ending the video on vegan frankenfood. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, think about giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Give it no pressure. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.